The gazing eye sees the fate of the world. The future. It's already been written.
Really? I'm not so sure about that. Besides, who's to say I can't change it? And maybe light will prevail.
Pretty confident. But things aren't in your favor.
Perhaps, but unlike darkness, there is more to light than meets the eye. You might be surprised.
Oh, I hope so.
Kingdom Hearts 3 was a huge disappointment. Like, there are very few games that I was as hyped for as much as I was this one. I started playing Kingdom Hearts as a series about 14 years ago. That was when Kingdom Hearts 2 came out. I didn't do them in order. I did 2 first, and then I did 1, and then I basically just skipped the rest if you're talking about actual playing. But I have followed the story all along through other people's YouTube channels, watching walkthroughs, so I'm fully aware of everything that's happened up until Kingdom Hearts 3. I have to admit that the fact that they kept releasing all these games on different consoles was part of the reason why I never picked them up. Of course, there was also the fact that I was much younger and didn't have as much money to spend as I currently do. But all in all, this was one of the games that I was most excited for this year. One of the main reasons is because, unlike some other people that keep like a close eye on the industry and stuff, I wasn't aware that this wasn't the last Kingdom Hearts. For me, I thought I was coming to see this whole thing off, see how it ends. And I will admit that this greatly affected how I received this game. As a matter of fact, it is only like when it ended that I stopped and I was like, no way, that can't be it. Like, that cannot be how they chose to end this game. Like, I don't care how incompetent you are, or how how disinterested, or maybe you've lost passion or something. You would have to be like, they would have to basically have replaced the entire team for this to be the last game. And why did I feel that way? Because this game is horribly disappointing. It is so unfortunate how this turned out. That's the best way I can put it. Now, on a very basic level, if you're going to simply compare this in terms of value, in terms of content, in terms of graphics, music, this is a decent game. I mean, it hasn't done financially well, I believe. Its price dropped very rapidly after release. I mean, I picked interest in it about 3 months after it released, and it was already less than half the initial price. And for huge, big budget AAA games, that doesn't happen unless it's not selling. So I guess it didn't really pay out in the end. But what worried me so much was the game itself is fine. Like, if you're going to divorce it from its history and its story and everything, it's alright. If you just picked it up randomly and didn't care about anything that's happening, it can work. But here is the problem. This is not a game like you can just pick up randomly. This game is for the fans. This is something I think anyone that's played this game will admit. It's kind of like jumping into like season 15 of a series or something. At that point, this is only for the fans. This game is wrapping up a lot of loose ends, a lot of stories that have been going on for years. Many of these for over 10 years. It's going to keep mentioning names, locations, dropping storylines, bringing them in, dropping in characters. If you're not fully caught up on what's been going on all along, this game is an absolute must skip. Like, don't even waste your time. There's nothing here for you. This one was made, and it takes. There is a glossary in the game that you can go and use to look at like the past story, but that's not how you want to experience Kingdom Hearts, I guarantee you. And it's also pretty much very overwhelming. I've seen a lot of people claim that this game has like a complex story, Kingdom Hearts as a series. It doesn't. It just has a lot of events. A lot of things have happened, and so at any one point, if you simply jump in, you're going to have a lot of stuff to catch up on before you fully understand everything that's going on everywhere. But that's pretty much all the complexity there is to it. It's not complex like Assassin's Creed used to be. No, it's not that type of complex, or like Control for this year. It's just, there's just a lot of stuff to keep track of. That's all there is to it. So with that being said, let's get into pros and let's get into cons for Kingdom Hearts before we talk about my overall thoughts about this specific title. Now, pros, undeniably this game has a lot of content. Like, You cannot play this game and come out saying that you felt like there was no effort put into the game. No, there are so many game mechanics. Essentially, in terms of pure content, there is more than enough to even if you bought this at $60, you would not feel like you've wasted your money. There is more than enough stuff going on. The game also looks really good. There was a change of engine in the last entry and it still holds up really well. A lot of the characters have a lot more detail to them. It's this Pixar type detail, you know, everything just looks really nice. There are a lot of bright colors. The color palette is really fun to look at. Many areas have what I would describe as like a relaxing appeal to them. They look really nice. There's also a very, how can I put it? There is a very faithful recreation of a lot of scenes and a lot of locations from the various Disney worlds that the characters go to throughout these games. Actually, the game has a lot of combat mechanics. There is something called short call where you can sort of aim, charge up, and then fire off a bunch of projectiles that can also help you regain your health. There is an air glide, you know, that you can do while you're in mid-air and it can help you cover long distances. There is flow motion that allows you to jump off various walls and statues and various objects for physics. There is blocking and rolling, which is, you know, self-explanatory. There are links, which requires summoning of characters from various Disney worlds. In this game, I've managed to find Ariel and I managed to get Simba. And then there are attractions. These are moves that are based off Disneyland attractions. You can bring those in to do various abilities. There is magic, you know, which is your usual fire, air, and all that kind of stuff. There is just a lot going on here. You cannot claim that there isn't a lot of stuff happening here. From a combat perspective, from a graphics perspective. The music as well is also pretty well done, although it does have a negative that I will get to, but overall it's pretty well done. You can't complain much in that regard. I didn't like the weird EDM song that they used from, I think, Skrillex? I think other people might have liked it, but yeah, I don't see why that's in Kingdom Hearts, honestly. Like, it's just weird. The final fight, I'm reading my notes, by the way. The final fight with the 3 Zehanots at the end was really cool. It has also, it's a good thing I mentioned this after the music. It also has, like, my favorite track within the OST for this game. I'm forgetting its name. If I remember it, maybe I'll put it in text. That track is amazing, and I'm glad that they chose to use it in this fight. It just made the whole thing a lot more epic for me. So with that being said, let's take a look at some of the things that I didn't like. The primary thing that's killing this game, you know what, we'll get to that last. Let's start with the music loops. The music loops are a bit too short. So this creates a scenario where especially because in these open worlds, you're going to be running around a lot. Eventually, the loop gets really irritating. Like almost all games use music loops, but the longer the loop is, the longer it will take before you begin to feel like the song is sort of recycling. For example, the ones of Skyrim are usually so long that by the time it begins again, you're welcoming the repeat of the track. These ones are so short that after just a short amount of time just trying to look around for enemies and objects, you will probably be pissed and just want to like leave this area and just go somewhere else because the music loop gets like really annoying. This game, speaking of loops, there is this thing that there is this mini game. Oh, I forgot to mention the game has mini games. That's another positive. There is this thing with Remy, you know, the chef from what's that movie, Ratatouille? Yeah, where you get to cook for him, and then the meals give you like stat buffs that you can use throughout the game. As you're doing this, as you move throughout the world, you will keep being notified by Donald and Goofy about various ingredients once they find them. This is really, really annoying. Like, I've never hated the word ingredients as much as I did after I had completed this game. That's just so annoying. Another thing is that despite all the various combat mechanics, or maybe because of them, the combat is extremely easy. Like I mentioned that the game has all those various mechanics that you have to that you can use in combat. The funny thing is that you don't have to use them, especially I played on normal difficulty. Maybe it gets crazy on higher difficulties, but most of this stuff can just be ignored. Like if you just smash the X button and dodge periodically and maybe spam a link every now and then when you need to health regen, you can pretty much just get through the game like that. All the magic, all the attractions, all the links, that stuff can just be ignored. It's weird. For me, the combat just felt a bit too easy. I think I was legitimately beaten twice in the game, and that usually came from negligence. You know, because you're smashing the X button so much, you actually don't pay attention to the fact that there are some enemies that are hitting you, and then you just get surprised when your health bar runs out and you're like, oh, whoops, I forgot to heal in time, you know, that kind of thing. But yeah, there is that. And then let's end it with what's been killing this series for so long. The writing, the dialogue. Oh my god. And unfortunately, this, I believe, is the primary appeal to this specific series. The dialogue, the writing, the story, it's so bad. Like I mentioned at the beginning, I did not know that this was not the final. I didn't know that this wasn't the final Kingdom Hearts. And if you don't know that, I feel like this should be plastered on the cover of anyone that's buying this game, because if you're not aware, you are probably going to get pissed. This story is pathetic. It feels like they wanted to wrap up the Xehanort saga so badly, but at this point they've let it string along for so long that no matter what they chose, it was going to end up in a very limp manner, especially since they decided that they were going to just let everything ride on future series as opposed to ending everything right here. There is barely anything conclusive that is gained throughout the story, and one of the more egregious offenses that this story commits from a single player campaign perspective, I think I took about 53 hours to complete the game, and in that time I can assure you that this game's entire story, it takes about 6 hours to tell. Those final 6 hours, that's the story. Like, that's where the entire thing happens. The rest of this stuff, like everything else that happens before, everything to do with the Disney worlds, is just meandering. They're just wasting your time. They actually, at the beginning, Sora is told that he has to acquire something called the power of waking, right? And so he has to visit various worlds to figure out what it is. He doesn't learn anything in these worlds. Every time he goes there, what happens is very repetitive. A member of the Order simply shows up, says a bunch of vague things. Sora doesn't understand what they're saying. They act like they have something behind their sleeve, and then they take off.
Oh no! He can move! Way cool!
Look out!
One heart's shadows fill the emptiness of another. See how they bring him to life? Like heartless and nobodies, they fit together.
Enough! Why are you doing this?
There's a darkness we are missing and must reclaim. The way hearts connect in this world can provide us with a clue. So we made a copy of the world, and then pulled those hearts apart. I wonder how you'll handle the strain.
Wait! What does that mean?
Don't let me down.
And then Maleficent and Pete, we're going to get back to those two morons later. But they show up, say some other vague stuff about a black box, and then disappear as well. This happens for every world that you go to, and it is so annoying. It is an absolute waste of time. Nothing of value to this campaign is gained in any of these worlds, and the story basically begins at the point at which you meet Aqua. The moment you run into her, then the story actually starts. And that is like 6 hours to the end. And those last 6 hours are solid. They actually tie into what you came to see. They wrap up the Xehanort saga, and that's the story. The rest of I don't know how many I'm going to do the math. The rest of the like 47 hours that I was playing this game, from a story perspective, were just a waste of time. If you don't enjoy the combat and the platforming and stuff like that, you are going to feel extremely cheated by the end of this story. Like, it is such that for me might be the worst offense of all. Then of course there is the fact that the dialogue itself is pretty horrible, especially that between Sora and Donald and Goofy. First of all, there's this weird, I know this is a Japanese thing, usually when dialogue is translated to English, there are these weird gaps between sentences. Then there is the fact that they keep saying each other's names, you know? They keep saying Donald, Sora, Donald, Goofy, Sora, Donald, Goofy, like that. It gets really irritating.
You're here! Sora, Donald, Goofy! You literally dropped in. Gotta say, I'm impressed.
Well, what do you know? Sora, Donald, Goofy. Guess I owe you a big thank you.
And then of course there is the plain fact that a lot of the stuff that they say is just nonsense. The culprits of this are usually the members of the Order. They come and they're supposed to say some stuff that sounds vague. It's meaningless, okay? It's not explained later on. It doesn't lead into anything. It just goes nowhere. They just talk a bunch of nonsense and then go away. It's very boring. Like, unless you're like the kind of person who thinks like things like water and the sky are blue is like a deep sentence. I don't even know what I meant by that. They just talk a bunch of nonsense until eventually you get to fight them all at once, which is again in the last 6 hours. And then this is why I keep saying that the entirety of the story could have been just those 6 hours, because everything that's relevant is there. All the boss fights, all the character interactions, all the reunions from past games, everything happens within those 6 hours. Everything you came to play this game to see is right at the end. The rest of the game is just wasting your time. I actually can't believe, I cannot understand how this was greenlit. I feel like this was simply because, well, I mean, they have to go to Disney Worlds, right? Because, I mean, that's how all the Kingdom Hearts games are. And I guess Disney wanted to market Frozen for some reason. I mean, they even take a moment, this by the way is its own point, they take a moment to do a whole rendition of Let It Go. Why? I mean, they don't do that for any other song from any other movie. We didn't need 4 minutes to be taken out of Kingdom Hearts just to sing this song. That's like super annoying. And then they do two of them actually. They do the Snowman song, and then they do Let It Go. And during the Snowman song, someone's talking. Let It Go is done almost beat for beat, interjected with scenes of Sora and Donald and Goofy. But then the other one, the Snowman song, essentially has someone talking over it while she's singing. There's just no consistency. You could tell that there was a lot of passion in this project, but a lot of that passion was misguided and very, very misplaced. This is not the kind of thing that you should be doing in a project like this, in my opinion. Okay, I think I've ranted enough as it is. For my last point, I will simply say that Maleficent and Pete, right? There is this subplot that involves the two of them. They appear in various worlds that you move through. They keep talking about a box or something. And at first I was a bit curious what this was about. I had forgotten the events of Union Cross, which is where there's the character called the Master, and he gives a certain black box to one of his apprentices. Of course, I didn't expect that to play into Kingdom Hearts 3, and you know what? It actually doesn't. These two just keep asking about this box throughout the entire game, and it never shows up or anything. And then right at the very end, it turns out, whoops, that's what this was all about. And you know, if you want to see what happens next, you'll have to buy the next game. I was like, get the hell out of here, man. Come on. You can't, no, this is unacceptable. Like, this entire subplot has nothing to do with Kingdom Hearts 3. And this is why I'm saying that if you did not know ahead of time that this was not the last game, you would be pissed by the end when it turns out that this subplot has nothing to do with Kingdom Hearts 3. This is ridiculous. This is unacceptable. Like, setting up future sequels is nice, but so much time is spent on this. Why do it now? Why in Kingdom Hearts 3? Like, if you wanted to set this up, why not in some other game? Not in the one that's wrapping up the whole Xehanort saga. The whole thing is completely anticlimactic by the end. Nothing is resolved. If anything, it just sets up a bunch of nonsense that we're going to have to move forward with in the next game. None of the characters that he's rescued, that has been missing from the past games, gets any kind of resolution. I guess all of this is to be received in future games. I guess my greatest problem with this game is that I feel like since they held off on the Kingdom Hearts 3 title for so long, it felt like they were saving it for a truly amazing and conclusive title. And this is not that. This game should have just had one of their other weird names as opposed to being called Kingdom Hearts 3. So yeah, those are my thoughts. The game is not terrible. Like, if you're playing it, I don't know why you would, but if you're playing it just for its combat and graphics, well, it's fine. If you're playing it for the story, which is what I expect, you probably fall in one of two camps. Either you're one of the people that's taken the Kingdom Hearts Kool-Aid, and therefore nothing's going to matter. Nothing that anyone says is going to matter. You're going to enjoy it all the same. Or you're part of the people that gave up on the story a long time ago and don't really care. In which case you probably won't play this anyway. But if you're in my unfortunate camp where you had hope for Kingdom Hearts 3, while knowing that the story has been going bad all along, sorry, but this is not the one where they turn it all around. And that was just truly disappointing. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Kingdom Hearts 3. I don't know if I'll be interested in whatever they do next. I'm pretty sure it's not coming out on the PS4, obviously. It will also require another console to buy in order to experience. And honestly, I'm not sure that I'm willing to buy another console just to keep up with this story, okay? Maybe I'll just keep watching them going forward, but without, like, I don't say this in an exaggerated manner. This was truly, truly disappointing to me. Anyway, thanks for watching my video if you've gone this far, and see you next time.